My name is Lee. I am a volunteer organizer with Movimiento Cosecha. I am from New Jersey. I wasn't originally born there. I was born in Mexico, in el estado de Puebla, and I came here when I was 7 years old. And I've lived in Jersey since, in a small community of Union City, which is actually like very like Latin and like Central American. City is small, but it's like a lot of diversity in there. And I've lived there my whole life pretty much. So like it was really cool growing up with like people from all around Latin America. Yes. So I've organized with a couple different orgs in the past, with the Dream Act and the immigrant rights movement. Right now I am with Movimiento Cosecha. I'd like to speak a little bit on what that is and who we are, right? Because I know right now there's people from American Friends Service Committee and maybe the relationship, but like I want to like bring a little bit of light of what I'm doing with Movimiento Cosecha. So it's a nonviolent movement fighting for permanent protection, dignity, and respect for the 11 million undocumented people in the United States. The name cosecha is the word harvest in Spanish, which for us honors the long tradition of farm workers who are organizing and the people who to this day are working on the fields, providing food for like the whole country. We are committed to win victories for the people, right? Obviously, we put them first. Cosecha believes in non-cooperation to leverage power of the immigrant labor and consumption as a force to create shifts in public opinion, right? Our movement emerged about a year and a half ago from strategic planning by immigrant rights and dream activists who in the past like were pretty much sick of like seeing politicians battle for like the vote of the immigrant people and then in the end never really do anything that would help our communities. For this very reason, Cosecha is very big on not relying on traditional tactics, or we don't dance with political parties. Our campaigns are very multifaceted, but always focus on like the power of immigrant communities and activating the public to create a climate shift. Yeah, and just I guess like Cosecha has no paid staff. We mostly rely on donations. So like if people are interested, maybe in the end I could send out a link where people can donate. For people who do volunteer work like myself, who I'm doing this full time for now, until we are able to create some change. So I know this session is on Sanctuary Campus, and I want to first and foremost like begin on how this like thing started, right? So why did this come up? And the way that I saw it, right, was that this like was initially sparked by the popular student reaction to Trump winning the election, right? Nobody was happy about that, at least not where I was in New Jersey, right? Because he had publicly like shamed a lot of people. Like he was talking a lot of bad stuff about like communities of color. And then when he came after the undocumented people, right, it was just like, wow, like I can't believe this guy actually won and he's actually president right now. And that resonated with a whole bunch of students, right? And then I feel like that transformed to solidarity with undocumented students, right? But like, why did it go viral? And what I think happened was that there was like a close connection, right, between the universities and the historic aspect of the Dream movement, right? Where they're like come together, right? The Dream movement. Every time we think about it, we think about kids in like those graduation hats and whatever, doing protests outside the schools, outside the DC. And I think that's why like it just connected very well, and students wanted to bond with each other and show themselves as like a unity type of thing. And because of that, people were super encouraged to do walkouts and demand the schools to be more supportive towards students of colors, people who were undocumented, people who were Muslim, people of color, just everyone, right? And yeah, and then we saw that was the same similar reaction across the country. and we were able to like coach different schools or different groups of people who maybe it was their first time organizing and didn't really exactly know how to go about it. So we were able to play a role on that. But yeah, if anyone has questions, y'all can like write them on the board as I go, because I know it might be hard to like recollect your questions. And yeah, so
I just want to make sure everybody knows to, like, if you want to ask a question, go to the Q&A panel. If you want to see the presentation, go to the presentation panel. It's on the left down below. So do you want the next slide, Lee?
What slide are we on? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so what was it like actually, right? So it was a sheet of asks, right? And it wasn't the same sheet because like different campuses and different schools, I guess, were at a different level on how they supported undocumented or documented students. So some of them would be more supportive, some of them wouldn't. So like it depended like on that people base their asks on. So one example was that like the university will refuse all voluntary information with sharing with ICE, right? Or that university refused ICE physical access to the property. Another one would be like the university would not use E-Verify. So like it would depend on the university and how things like were different. That yeah. So it wasn't like one similar across the country, but like different variations of asks. And yeah, so like that was like our I guess our target, but our target had two parts. That was only part of it, and that was like the secondary part. Our actual target was the people, the schools, and the students themselves. We wanted to create an urge and a climate shift to polarize them pretty much and ask them like, what side are you on, without asking it, right? Forcing them to make a choice on like standing your ground and not letting like somebody just come to you and tell you that you're nothing, right? To stand together, to stand strong, and to show student power. And that was what the actual like heart of Sanctuary Campus was. It was no actual like thing that would prevent ICE from coming onto campus, right? Because nothing can really stop that. Like that's the reality of it. That if they have a warrant, they can step into wherever it is that they want and take whoever it is that they're looking for. But it was more about like creating that mind shift. As for like the schools themselves, many schools didn't want to do it because they were threatened to losing funding, right? What we saw was that like some public schools and some private schools had like different hurdles, if you can say. Like where like public schools were more like worried or like scared about losing funding, and they couldn't meet like requirements such as like, oh, we're gonna help undocumented students pay for like some of their tuition because like their state didn't allow them to, right? Like in Jersey, we don't have like state financial aid for undocumented students. So like even if the school wanted to, like they couldn't because the state wouldn't allow them. And then they were also scared that they were going to lose funding. One thing that we did see from the private schools was that they had a little bit more power over their private property. But still in the end, like they can't really do much to stop ICE. And then in some cases, like at St. Peter's, where I'm going to talk about a little bit in like right now, was that we tried to like brainstorm the possibilities of maybe using like a university church to like create a sanctuary space. But it was more like a brainstorm idea to see if we could actually do it. So yeah, and that's how it kind of like what looked like at a national level. I can talk a little bit about what I saw at a local level at my school, because when we were doing this stuff, I was actually in my senior year of college. And for me, it created like a big question or a big dilemma or conflict in my life. As soon as I saw Trump win, because me, it has been a mission for me to like get through school. I've had to work several jobs. I lost my athletic scholarship. I had to be a school dropout for like a year and some change. It has been really tough. And for me to like see everything that I've worked for with other undocumented students to change, be taken back with Trump, right, was definitely heartbreaking, definitely like mind blowing in a way. I was worried for my family for the most part because I knew that somehow the country thinks of dreamers as like, you know, like good dreamers, but like I was gonna leave that space after I had graduated. I wouldn't be one of those dreamers that you see on TV, you know. I would just be a regular undocumented person, and for me that was very challenging to accept. And like I started asking myself these questions, or I asked myself like, okay, well, say that the school protects me, like who's gonna protect my parents, right? In my heart, in my mind, I know that only 3% of the undocumented people are students. That leaves like a whole 97% outside with absolutely no protection, or people haven't even been talking about them, right? So like I felt really bad being inside a school, knowing that my whole community was unprotected. And that's why in my school, I pretty much just ask people to like walk out at a certain day, at a certain time, and told them just walk out and meet me at the quad. And then from the quad, I was able to like, you know, express how I was feeling. And we were able to like march around the school, like showing people that we were not content, that we're not going to continue our day to day pretending that this didn't happen, right? And when we did that, the school still didn't come out with something in support of us, right? They still hadn't said, "Oh, we're gonna be a sanctuary school." So I felt that I had to do more, you know. And for me, I was like, how do you expect me to go back to school knowing that my whole life has been put at risk by the president himself? And so what I did was that I stopped going to school. I decided one day, I was like, no, I'm not going to pretend that nothing's bothering me. I'm not going to go take a math test. I'm not going to go like sit down and read a book. That's not me right now. Right now, my life is at stake, right? My parents can be deported and my life can change in an instant. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to graduate, right? That's what I was thinking. And so I stopped going to school, and instead I wrote a letter to the students on my university, where I told them my struggle. I told them that I was fed up with the fact that like people kept treating us like crap, and that people were so heartless with their bills, that I had to see my mom cried by herself because she didn't have a family here when her mom died. And I shared all of that with her, with the people, and I posted this letter all around campus. And I still told them that I was not going to go back to school until the school told me that they were going to become a sanctuary campus. And I'm not sure what happened, but like the students were reacting, you know. They also like started, you know, talking to the president of the school. I got to talk to the president of the school and other people who were like, you know, we understand, but you have to go back to school. And like, and I had to like go back and forth. Like, I really can't, because like it's affecting my community. It's affecting people who don't have protection. And eventually we were able to pass a sanctuary campus policy without calling it a sanctuary campus, because again, schools were scared to lose funding. Yeah. So the win behind this campaign, or like this national like thing that happened, was that many schools adopted the sanctuary asks, right? We saw schools like in Ohio, in Oregon, in at Columbia, like even Ivies were picking up to it. Rutgers had like a really big turnout. And all over the country, we saw that a lot of people were resonating with what we felt, and universities were adopting more like undocumented friendly policies in their schools. So that was really good. And another really big win was that many students who were engaged then, it was their first time ever like doing a walkout, was their first time ever doing like a protest type of thing. And for me, I feel like that was a win because like I got to see them later on the years as we organized different actions. If you see on the pictures here, we have a picture of like the symbolic statue in Colombia asking for education, not deportation. And we try to recreate it. It wasn't just one day, but like multiple days in different parts of the country. We see like the Texas high school students on the side there, which was really cool because like if I was in high school, I wouldn't have done it. But like the message just resonated so much that even high school students were out and about. And yeah, we were able to establish like that the dream movement was strong even under the Trump presidency, and that we were not gonna stop like at all, and that like pretty much it was the beginning to like a whole rebirth of the dream movement. Yeah. So locally, like, yeah, St. Peter's was able to become a sanctuary campus, and then I was able to graduate, and now I'm doing full-time organizing with Movimiento Cosecha. If you liked what some of the work that Cosecha has been doing, I don't know if you follow us on Facebook, or if maybe it's your first time listening to me speak about Cosecha, I would invite you to visit us on Facebook or visit us at lahuelga.com, where you see more actions that we've done in this year. So like, I know we've done one in Texas, we did one in New York. I was part of the Dream 7 a month ago, where we were arrested in Schumer's office, asking for a Clean Dream Act, and we stayed in jail for 6 days, doing a hunger strike and stuff.
Great, thank you very much, Lee. So we have a couple questions that came in, but the first one is a statement. I don't have a question, but just want to say thank you for sharing your powerful story. So I appreciate that as well. So there's some questions also. The first one is from Megan, and she asks, is your group mostly high school students or college students?
I guess just a little clarification. What do you mean by my team? Like at Cosecha?
Yes, I think that's what I think that's the question.
Yeah, so at Cosecha, we have what we call the volunteer organizing network, which is the people who are doing full-time work. And then we have like people who are in their local states. So that is kind of different right now with the VOs. The volunteer organizing network is more like college age, traditional college age, or like, yeah, mostly youth. I wouldn't say high school levels, but more like college levels, age type of thing. I know it's traditional age. I know people go back to college and stuff, but like traditionally that around that age. And then our locals are more like elder folks, people who've been here for a while, people who, go to work every day, just normal people.
Great, thanks. So the next question is, what inspired you most as you were organizing? From email.
Yeah, I think the thing that inspired me the most is, well, I don't really know, to be honest. I feel like we have to find different inspiration every day because, I mean, a lot of the times people just throw out hate, and it's challenging sometimes to keep like one thing motivating you, because like it definitely is definitely a lot of draining work, emotionally draining work. But if I would say pick something, it's just like the fact that like I love my family like more than anything, and that I'm willing to take risks and get in front of people's faces and do whatever it takes for me to keep my family together.
Great, thank you. Here's another question. From email, what advice do you have for other undocumented students who are organizing?
Yeah, so I think my best advice would be let's not be silent. Be as verbal as you can, be as visible as you can. Our parents, or at least my parents and some of the people that I know, like we all connect with the fact that for us, they told us to hush, their fight was in being silent, right? And they saw us grow up, and now that we're big or, older, we are able to fight back. Our role is not to stay silent. Our role is to speak up. Our role is to get in front and say what we want,
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. Can you talk about the difference in how the media portrays this is from email, good immigrants versus bad immigrants?
Right. And I feel like this changes every so often, right? So like when Trump goes up and he says, they're criminals, they are bad, right? I feel like that in itself, a lot of people just let it fly by and they're like, yeah, they're criminals. But like the fact of the matter is that like, to the Trump administration, criminals, it's everyone who's here undocumented is criminals. Also the fact that yeah, like they see the dreamers as in like, oh, you know, it wasn't our fault. Our parents brought us. We kind of like throw our parents under the bus, like, oh, just help the dreamers. But like, how are you gonna help us if you're like forcing us to choose between us and our parents, you know? And that's kind of like a critique that I have on like a lot of politicians who come out and say, I support you guys, I stand with you, I understand you. It's like, no, you don't. You're trying to criminalize, well, you actually criminalize my parents every day, and you're trying to deport them. How do you stay in front of me and say that you support me?
Okay, great. Just a second, I'm checking. All right, there's a couple questions from just around where Cosecha is. Do you have any networks in North Carolina? And then are there any in Colorado?
Not in Colorado yet, and I don't think we have North Carolina. I know we have a really strong one in Georgia, and I think Florida right now. But like the thing with Cosecha is that like if you have a small group, maybe of like 3-4 people who wanna like start up with Cosecha, like you have the support from like our national volunteer organizing network, and you have like a trainer to come down and like teach you like, oh, you know, this is what we're trying to do. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Do you have like a better idea? That type of stuff. So like you don't really need many people. Like if you're interested, just, you know, get 3 more people and then give us a call and just tell us that you want to start Cosecha, and we'll be there.
Okay, so and then there's somebody who says who they're part of the University of Denver's Immigrant and Refugee Rights Collective, and they want to know if you'd be willing to do a Skype webinar with their group. So we can, you can send me an email, Amanda, lduncan@afsc.org, lduncan@afsc.org, and I'll pass it along to Lee. How does that sound?
Yeah.
If you're interested. Okay, great. And then the spelling of the organization, it's Cosecha. Yeah. Okay,
On
great.
Facebook, we are Movimiento Cosecha. That's our national page.
Okay.
And then if you want to look at other state cosechas, like their local cosecha groups, then you could put like Cosecha New Jersey, Cosecha Boston, Cosecha, and you find a state like that. But if you want to contact the whole national cosecha, it would be Movimiento Cosecha.
If you want to put that in the Q&A panel, Lee, yourself, and then I'll make sure that everybody can see it. And we'll include something about it also in the email that we send. Great. Thank you so much, Lee. That was really, really powerful.